The historic former race circuit of Brooklands, September 1998, the venue for a historic launch. The brand new project is called T-Cars. It's a spec category formula that allows drivers from 14 to 16 years of age the chance to race in equal machinery on real racetracks in real cars. Here's project manager Magnus Laird.
Well, it's a teenage training program. It's the first of its kind anywhere in the world. The idea is that we try and bring 14-year-olds to real racetracks in purpose-built racing cars to learn their craft at a younger age than they've previously been able to do so. Using a Vauxhall 1600 16-valve engine, the sort of thing you'd find in a Tigra or an Astra Vectra. It's been tuned by Minister Racing Engines of Kent. They're all the engines are dyno tested to ensure that they produce exactly the same power to a tolerance of 1.5 horsepower each way, plus or minus 1.5 horsepower. They're sealed, so nobody can tamper with them. We're trying to establish a level playing field so that driver talent alone will shine through. But the emphasis is on safety, safety, safety. We have the latest design in seats with head protection from the side. We've got the latest FIA specification harnesses, and we've got one of the strongest frames I've ever seen.
Fast forward to the first of those drivers about to go out onto a racetrack, Castlecombe in Wiltshire. Well, history in the making then. 6 14-year-old and 2 15-year-old drivers taking the start of the first ever T-car race at Castlecombe. Early leader in the red car, Tom Kimber-Smith, 14 years of age, son of a touring car driver, Jeff, and challenging him, 15-year-old Tom Boardman from Forton in Lancashire, already a grass track national champion. So he's got plenty of racing experience, and that shows as he takes over command of the race, romping away to take the checkered flag and win the first ever T-car race. Commanding performance in the 130 brake horsepower, 100 mile/an-hour T-cars from Tom Boardman.
It's not been easy, but I've been having trouble getting off the start and that, but I've cracked it today, so it's gone all right for me.
Not everybody else is quite as happy though.
Brilliant, mate. Well, it doesn't matter. It's your first race, not your last.
I think with him, and I think with others there, certainly with Tom, of course, because Tom Kimber-Smith, his father's a very close friend of mine, and they are very, very intense. They only understand winning, and if they come second or third, they're not going to be happy, and I think that's got to be the right approach, but they've also got to recognise they're not going to win everything.
Wise words indeed from the very experienced father, Pete Hall. Well, they've been blessed with kind weather for their first start, but this was a real baptism of water for the T-car drivers. A wet start and appalling weather at Castlecombe for the second race. Well, a very mixed start, as you could see, some drivers getting away superbly, others not. Again, Tom Kimber-Smith leading early on. This time, Boardman further back down the order. Bringing up the rear and playing himself in gently is ex-kart racer Oliver Plale. Well, Plale spinning off at Tower Corner, finding that the T-cars, while powerful and responsive, certainly nothing like the responsiveness he's been used to in the karts. Well, Tom Boardman also in trouble, spinning here as he makes contact with Ryan Lewis in a battle for third place. And the two of them taking some while to recover as well. So Boardman back on track, and Ryan Lewis likewise. Conditions really quite foul at Castlecombe. The cars misting up, traction at a premium. Ben Reeves being chased here by the red car of Stuart Hall, trying to settle himself down in his second race in the category. And unfortunately the conditions soon to claim Ryan Lewis, a real race and his first high-speed real accident, and doubtless another lesson learned.
It was very wet. It's probably one reason. I think the other's probably bad driving on my part.
Well, the best of those resisting the temptation to join him in the barriers was Tom Kimber-Smith, balancing his enthusiasm with a little bit of trepidation undoubtedly. Takes his first race win in race 2 of the T-cars. Second place and fastest lap goes to Ben Reeves in the white car. Stuart Hall in third place in his second outing in the category. Well, it's a maiden victory in T-cars then, on track for Kimber-Smith.
Of the afternoon,
it was harder than the first race, but if you just kept it steady, it was quite easy really.
The Wokingham lads joined on the front row of the grid for race 3 by Ben Reeves.
I thought it was a good opportunity to try and get into cars, so see if I could assist with my career. I want to be a Formula 1 driver, and I thought it was the best way to do it. I personally like the rain a lot more than the dry, but still got one more race to go, see if I can win it.
Well, the Oval lad was 7th in the dry and 2nd in the rain, so it looks as though he is right, but unfortunately he doesn't start well in race 3, which is also wet, and he drops right down to the tail of the field. Tim Crichton, the early leader, but that lasts only as long as Quarry. Tom Boardman, winner in the dry, makes his move for the lead. The red car of Tom Kimber-Smith in 3rd place, also looking strong here. And Lewis's car rebuilt after his first race incident at the tail. Reeves recovering after an incident.
It's between those two for second place.
Battle for second place continues. Kimber-Smith with the headlamps ablaze in the mirrors of Tim Crichton, seeing if he can unsettle him at all. The two youngsters continue to race on, but it's a hard impact for Oliver Plale as he spins out into the barriers. The 14-year-old from Thorpe Bay climbing out of the machinery, and he looks very disconsolate.
Can we get your ignition off? Are you all right?
Well, he's receiving checks from the medical crew. Tom Boardman motors on. Winner of race 1 takes victory in race 3. Behind him in second place, Tim Crichton from Tom Kimber-Smith. There are the trio, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And Oliver Plale's onboard camera shows the moment where it all goes wrong. And that barrier looming large, something he won't have wanted to see.
On to Brands Hatch, and a wet, slippery track greeted the young drivers again. The tight Indy circuit would prove quite a challenge. It was Tom Boardman who made the best of the conditions to win the first 2 races. Could he make it 5 wins out of 6 starts in race 3 at Brands Hatch? Martin Haven, your commentator.
Tom Boardman on pole position from Ben Reeves, reflecting the result exactly of the previous race, and he gets a lightning start. Reeves in second place, Tim Crichton and Tom Kimber-Smith battling over 3rd as they go into paddock, ahead of Tom Chilton and Stuart Hall. But it's Tom Boardman who's really established himself as the star of this series here. And around the tail of the field, Ryan Lewis in car number 69. Tentatively out of Graham Hill Bend as we ride with Ben Reeves. Second place here is Tom Boardman, the race leader ahead, selecting 4th gear there. 5-speed manual gearbox these cars have got, no sequential gearboxes, no electronic changes. 1600cc 16-valve Vauxhall engines produce 130 horsepower, so plenty of power to spin the wheels up here and get it sideways in these very slick conditions. Control tyres along with everything else in the category to try and even out the formula between these cars and make sure that the driver makes all the difference. And that's what Tom Boardman seems to be doing, indelibly stamping his imprint on this series already. Ben Reeves in second, then Tom Kimber-Smith and Stuart Hall, the pair of red cars, in 3rd and 4th place. Well, as they come up to Druids further back, there's formation spinning. Oliver Plale goes off first, and then Ryan Lewis loses control of the 69 machine as he is rather distracted by the spinning 33 car ahead of him. Back with Ben Reeves in second place, closer this time to Tom Boardman, and he is working, concentrating on trying to get back on the tail of the leader. Well, Lewis will continue, but Plale's car buried deep in the gravel. That'll be a problem in the forthcoming laps for the drivers. The yellow flags will be out, and that means for Tom Kimber-Smith in the red car, currently sizing up Ben Reeves for a move into second place. I'm afraid paddock is no longer the place to try it. So Reeves lives another corner there, but on the run up to Druids, let's see if Tom Kimber-Smith can make a move. On the left-hand side up the hill, he'll need to dart to the inside to try and go around. He can't make it there, not close enough under braking. Down the hill they come into Graham Hill Bend, and again we're riding with Ben Reeves. He is much closer to the leader, Tom Boardman, this time. Reeves really working at his racecraft here, and he is closing down on the 27 car that leads this race. Tom Kimber-Smith right with him, the top 3 as close as you like. Stuart Hall keeping a watching brief in 4th place. Kimber-Smith looking a little more challenging here though than Ben Reeves is. Kimber Smith, a nice tight line through Clearways, gets the power on nice and early onto the Brabham straight, and as they flash across the line, I think he will be looking to try and make a move. He goes around the outside. This will be high, wide and handsome into Paddock Hill Bend, but he can't pass there again. So Kimber Smith will have to now take a good run down the hill and try and make a move to Druids. He's caught up behind the white car of Ben Reeves. He won't get the run up the hill that he needs. He'll be forced to counter on the outside. He can't get up the inside. Kimber Smith is undoing all that hard work because he goes into paddock too close behind Ben Reeves. What he needs to be doing is sitting back a little at paddock and have a good run, a clean run through there and up the hill. Reeves, meanwhile, now right on the tail of Tom Boardman. It's a three-way battle for the lead, and Kimber Smith this time is making a move as they go towards Surtees and McLaren. Can't get alongside Ben Reeves and thinks better of it anyway. The checkered flag awaits. Can Tom Boardman win again, or will Ben Reeves be able to unseat him in the race to the line? He doesn't look to be close enough. Kimber Smith won't be able to challenge for second either. It'll be victory again for Tom Boardman. 5 wins in 6 starts. Again, he may not have liked the conditions, but he made the very best of them to win from Ben Reeves. Tom Kimber Smith already has a win, a second place and 2/3 to his name, and at Snetterton he's on pole for round 7.
The straights are really easy. It's just coming into all the quick corners what I'm finding difficult. As soon as you brake, it slides everywhere.
What sort of speed do you think you're doing down the back straight here?
Well, I'm hitting a rev limiter in 5th, so that's about 110 miles an hour down the back straight.
That's pretty quick, isn't it? You know, it's pretty impressive.
Well, it's quick for a 14 or 15-year-old.
Kimber Smith and his teammates Stuart Hall on the front row. The onboard camera with Tim Crichton on row 3 of the grid. And minimum wheel spin as he gets a nice launch. The 4 cars ahead of him seem to get away slightly better though. And it looks as though Tom Boardman is going to make inroads into this field, and he takes the lead from the second row of the grid. Very good start indeed for him. Tom Boardman leads. We're looking back now from Tom Kimber Smith, the pole position man. The rest of the field dropping back, and that's because they're in a 3-way battle for 3rd place. Tim Crichton, Oliver Plale and our camera car Stuart Hall. He's in 5th at the moment. Plale just ahead of him, gets onto the loose, keeps the power in, he goes off, he spears off the track, he's keeping his foot buried, good man. And he's going to power his way back on as quickly as he can, but it's pretty rough out there, and he and the car will be taking a bit of a shaking. Out front then, Tom Boardman, the man who is really showing everybody else the way in the T-Car series, and the man who's probably his closest rival, Tom Kimber Smith. Behind them, Tim Crichton in 3rd, Stuart Hall in 4th, and Hall is very close. He's lunging down the inside. We pick it up on board with Crichton. Bang! Hall is inside him as he turns in. Crichton is spun round. Stuart Hall continues as Tim Crichton gets it going and then finds he's in the wrong gear. Has to wait for somebody else to go by as well. Now, Tom Kimber Smith in a position to put a move in on the leader, and he does. Picks up the lead from Tom Boardman. And Boardman slides as he powers back into the attack, into the bomb hole, and unbelievably, despite that huge opposite lock moment, he gets back past Tom Kimber Smith. Well, that was probably much more the grass track racer in Tom Boardman coming out there. Big opposite lock slide on the loose. He held it all together and still passed the race leader to take back his leading position. Well, running slightly wide but holding it all together. Good run through the chicane at Russell. He's got Tom Kimber Smith right behind him, who had a much better run though. Stuart Hall in 3rd place. Kimber Smith racing to the checkered flag, but Tom Boardman wins it. Ben Reeves over the line. Will he hold it together? No, he doesn't. And worrying moments there on board for Tim Crichton. Just finds a hole. Races past Ben Reeves to the line. Well, that was a worrying moment for him as well. Well, Tom Boardman continues in his winning ways. Looks happy enough as he receives his garland, his 6th win in 7 starts, and he will start the 8th and final race of the T-Car series on pole position, as the order of the grid is the order they finished the last race. So Tom Boardman on pole. Let's see if he gets a good enough start this time. He's on the inside line, and he should do, from Tom Kimber Smith, Stuart Hall, Ben Reeves, and there's a bit of argy-bargy in the middle of the field there. Our onboard cameraman Tim Crichton getting a big rub there from number 7. That's Tom Chilton. Wheel to wheel in the first turn, but Crichton comes out in 5th, Chilton in 6th as Boardman leads, Kimber Smith in 2nd, Reeves in 3rd place, up from 5th on the grid. That's a great start for Ben Reeves from Yeovil. Now we ride with Tim Crichton trying to pull alongside Stuart Hall from Halstead in Essex. Out of shot now is Ben Reeves as they come 3 abreast. Looking back from Kimber Smith, it's Hall who comes into the corner 3rd, then spins out through the S's. So Stuart Hall drops off the road, and I think Tim Crichton may well have got the advantage there over Ben Reeves as well. He has. Reeves is down to 4th, and Stuart Hall restarts at the tail of the field. Well, he got into the S's just a fraction too hot. No problem like that for Tom Boardman or Tom Kimber Smith. And the 2 front-running Toms running away from the battle in 3rd place. Crichton ahead of Reeves. They cross the line almost side by side. Tom Boardman is on the inside, but what's this? The black flag for both of the red cars. 11 Stuart Hall and 77 Tom Kimber Smith, the new race leader, have been black flagged, and Tom Kimber Smith running out of road. Just a fractional touch between him and Tom Boardman as they cornered side by side. No real damage done, but the real damage is done by that black flag. The stewards of the meeting have found some irregularities with the red cars, and both of them have been summoned to the pits mid-race. Well, in comes Stuart Hall, who was, of course, at the tail of the field. Tom Kimber Smith battling for the lead. He won't want to come in straight away. He may not even have seen that flag because he was on the outside battling with Tom Boardman. He only has 3 laps to come into the pits. I'm sure that is one of the rules that he will certainly be very much aware of. Well, behind him, Tim Crichton battling with Benjamin Reeves for 3rd place. There's Crichton and Reeves, 99 and 1. And they may yet inherit 2nd place from Tom Kimber Smith. This time when Kimber Smith comes to the line, he won't be blindsided by Tom Boardman, so he will see the black flag and the board with his number on it. Behind them, 7 Tom Chilton and Oliver Playle in 33. And there again, the black flag is being held out, so Kimber Smith has probably seen it this time, although he's right on the tail of Tom Boardman. And I'm sure that his father Jeff would make sure, or want to make sure, that he does obey the flag signals. It's one of the most fundamental rules of racing. You never know quite what's going on and why you see flag signals that may seem unusual or confusing to you as a racing driver. They must be obeyed without question. The likes of Michael Schumacher, of course, don't normally help young drivers learn the right rules, but they should obey flag signals wherever it is requested of them. Tim Crichton really under pressure there from Ben Reeves for that 3rd place on the road, but what looks like being 2nd place. Tom Boardman still leading comfortably with the Union flag there on the roof of his car. Now, I think Tom Kimber Smith's tenure of 2nd place is all but done. Be very surprised if he doesn't pull into the pits this time. He's still pushing Tom Boardman. Here, though, is the move for that 2nd place that will soon become vacant. And Ben Reeves moves up there, but runs wide now. Can Tim Crichton come back past him? We ride on board there side by side. You saw there from the onboard camera Kimber Smith heading into the pits. This is now for 2nd on the road, as well as in the official results book. And they are still side by side. Reeves on the inside. There's contact between them because the outside line is quicker. Crichton just gives him a little rub as he tries to assert himself in the corner. Down into 3rd gear he goes. Now accelerating out onto the Revit straight at the back, and Revit he certainly will, up into 4th, picking up speed, and as they get into 5th gear on the rev limiter, these cars pulling over 100 miles an hour. And these 2 teenage drivers racing as clean and attacking as any experienced saloon car race. Now Reeves there showing his inexperience, gets in too deep and too fast, it slides. There's a battle side by side. Oliver Playle on the inside of Tom Chilton, and it's Playle that spins out there. Reeves also in trouble in the number 1 car ahead of that little battle. He kept it on the track, but Oliver Playle can't seem to get himself going. I think he's still in gear as he's trying to start the engine. Elementary mistake. Now he's got it going, but of course his battle has got away from him, and it'll be a lonely end to the race for him. That's a disappointment for him. Disappointment too for Tom Kimber-Smith and Stuart Hall as they've been black flagged out of the race. Big advantage now for Tom Boardman. Tim Crichton holding on in second place. Ben Reeves in third, but some way back. Look at Boardman now, though. He's really got to grips with this car, hurling it around the track. There's Tom Chilton. Survived his little heart-stopping moment with Oliver Plale at the S's last time round. Here is Tom Chilton. He's in fourth place. That's his best position so far. Coming towards the finish of the race, he's had a clutch of fifth, sixth and a seventh. Tom Boardman, of course, has had a very, very rewarding time in this T-Cars category. And he's on course now for his 7th win in the 8 races in the championship. And that is a mighty impressive showing of dominant form from anybody in any racing category. Tom Boardman, the 15-year-old driver from Forton in Lancashire, will come through the chicane for the final time in the final race at Snetterton to claim victory. And Tom Boardman, very much, I'm sure, a name that we will be hearing of in the future, and he will certainly want to use this as a springboard over the winter to get himself into senior category of racing. Tim Crichton and Ben Reeves second and third. Tom Chilton taking his best result at the championship in fourth place, and Oliver Plale in fifth. But it's yet another victory garland for Tom Boardman.